Whether baked into a batter, artfully arranged on a cake, or bubbling inside a pie, berries make everything taste better. Berry expert Franca Tantillo shares her knowledge of farm-grown and foraged berries with us today. Then I'll reimagine two beloved berry desserts, a gorgeous blueberry Bandanna Tart, and gooseberry and raspberry crumbles. Plus, cookbook author Seneviratne is here to bake a scrumptious berry Frangipane Phyllo Tart. All today on Martha Bakes. Berries are a summer staple, but not all berries are Franca Tantillo's berries. At the farmer's market here in New York, her stand is considered a must-stop for New York City's chefs, and today she's here to open our eyes to a new way of thinking about berries. I haven't seen you for a long time, but we've been working together since 1989, I think. Yes, it's such a long time. How did you become such an expert on berries?
Well, I'm a registered nurse, and I was blessed to work with a man called Dr. Carrie A. Reams, who had 6 PhDs and originally was friends with Einstein and had his own theory, the Reams biological theory of ionization, where he correlated illnesses to mineral deficiencies all across the United States in the late 50s, early 60s. They took away his license to practice medicine, locked him up back then. Calcium was not a household, a crazy man who toted about the best doctor in the world. And the best doctor in the world is yourself. Physician, heal yourself is what Dr. Reams tried to teach everyone in the world.
So you can heal yourself by eating well and
Yes.
eating the right foods.
This is a machine, just as a car. And this little instrument, the refractometer.
So what do you do with that? You put a berry in there and it tells you how much sugar is in the berry?
Basically, you can taste any food substance that has
All right, so
water
take one of your
content.
sweet, sweet berries.
We
Squish the berry on there.
Squish a little bit of liquid,
Okay.
and this has a prism in it, which
Okay.
tests the refractive index of all the carbohydrates.
Okay.
So we talk about sucrase, which is natural white sugar, and this is all of them. Glucose, fructose, lactose, all the sugars.
Okay.
And you put it up to the light, and that refractive index, and you'll see this is measuring about 10.
10, so that's very sweet. So then you wipe that off?
Wipe that off.
That's a strawberry. Let's try a blueberry. So this is telling you which berries are sweeter
Now
than
this
other
one's not going to be as sweet because I
No.
can tell it's not as ripe, but you never know. No, our God-given gift is the tongue. Everybody has a refractometer.
Okay.
If it tastes sweet, it's healthy for you.
Oh.
The higher the sugar, the higher the mineral content.
Oh.
It's the mineral that matters in the food that we eat. Look at this. Almost 12 or 13. That's why blueberries are the key to life.
Oh, it is.
The mineral content
And it
is
has all that
higher.
autoimmune
Yes.
too, all those good things. Okay, that's
So
blueberry.
the higher the mineral,
And they'll try
the higher
one
the
more
sugar.
because this interests me. How about this Ann raspberry? Is
That's Ann, a
did
new
you-
variety
did
that
you
we're
grow
trialing.
Oh, okay.
Now you can take juice out of lettuce, out of anything,
Oh.
and test every single food substance. Okay, look at that. It's almost at 13.
Oh my gosh.
And we didn't taste it.
It is up high. How much is a refractometer?
Not as pricey as they used to be, anywhere from $20 to $100 on upwards. Food with mineral does not rot, it will dehydrate. The nutrient density allows them to dehydrate.
Okay. How many pints of berries would you say you pick every year?
Thousands.
Right.
I'm planting right now. Many years ago, when I first went out on my own, I would plant up to 90,000 strawberry plants themselves.
wow.
Now I'm planting about 35 to 40,000 annually, scaled it down a bit.
Well, these berries, I remember when Franca told me, you take a berry like that. Now you call that a kingberry?
This is the largest, when the
Oh.
berry sets the hand of fruit.
Oh.
The biggest one would be the kingberry,
Oh.
and then down to the quaternary
But
berry.
notice the center of the berry is red, red, red from the skin into the center. And that is a true strawberry.
Yeah.
Those strawberries that you get, those giant ones that you get for like $1 each, they don't taste like this. They don't taste like strawberries. I want to see how much sugar in this one, because this one is so sweet.
There's a farmer behind every piece of fruit that you eat.
No, this is only a 10.
Not bad.
Not bad.
You'll go to the store and find a lot of 5s.
So are you always running around with that thing, testing things?
Well, my tongue is pretty good
Okay.
now. But yes, in the beginning, when I was first training, The refractometer went for all the fruit, and in the grape industry, they use it all the time.
Well, Franca has taught us how to look at berries from a new perspective. It's very nice to have you here, and it's so great. I miss you. It was very nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
And I'll take your advice and plant some berries right away.
I'll come help you.
Okay, thank you. There's no better way to highlight the flavor of summer's berries than to bake a berry tart. And today I've decided to use an American fashion icon as inspiration for my blueberry bandana tart. And you know the bandanas that you tie around your neck and that cowboys use and that you use for your dog's collars. That's a bandana. And you start with a pâte brisée, and we're making a extra large pâte brisée. Instead of the 2-cup recipe, we're using 2 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. And we're going to be baking this bandana tart in the shape of a square, just like a bandana. And some salt, 1½ teaspoons of salt, and a tablespoon of sugar. And you can mix this up a little bit. Just get all the dry ingredients together and add 18 tablespoons of unsalted, best quality butter. And I've cut the butter into little 1/4-inch squares and chilled it until it's quite hard. And just pulse this into your flour mixture. If the blade of your mixer is nice and sharp, this will take just a few seconds. And we'll need a 1/2 cup of iced water. I've been chilling water with ice. Don't get any ice into your water. So there's your 1/2 cup, and pulse this into your flour and butter mixture. So in the time it takes to incorporate the water, your pastry is basically done. It looks done enough so I don't have to add any more water. I think this is good. Yes, it holds together nicely. So chill this in 2 squares in plastic wrap. Overnight is best. So in a large bowl, using a pastry cutter or even a potato masher, you can smash 1 cup of blueberries. We're just smashing this to make a little bit of a pulp in the filling. It gives the juice to the tart filling. Add 1 cup of granulated sugar and 1/3 cup of cornstarch to your crushed berries, and then add 7 more cups of berries, and that will be your filling. Or you can add this to that. I think that's what I will do. And stir this all together. And just let this sit until you roll out your bottom and top crusts of your square bandana tart. So this can just sit. Our pastry squares are chilled, so on a well-floured surface, roll out your pastry dough. Now to get this into your square tart tin with a removable bottom, don't forget the removable bottom, it's very important. Just roll this over your pin and work quickly. You do not want your pastry to get warm. It's always that motto, make it cold, bake it hot. Because you're trying to cut the butter into dry ingredients. If the butter were soft, it will kind of melt all together. You won't have those little specks of butter that you can see here on this pastry that will add to the flakiness of the dough itself. Now notice I'm folding the pastry down a little bit just to reinforce the sides of the tart shell. And then you can roll this off with your rolling pin, or just take your thumb like this and go around the entire tart shell. Now we have our bottom crust, into which, and put this on a baking sheet that is covered with parchment paper. A bubbling blueberry tart. Wouldn't you rather have it bubble off onto a piece of parchment paper so you don't have to scrub it out of the tray? A good and sensible hint for tart making or pie making. Now spoon your berries into the tart shell. Fit them in there. They will fit. Use your spatula to press them down. You're going to fit your pastry right over them, and they will cook down. So there, that looks excellent. So now roll out your top crust. Now this is my bandana pattern, and I'm going to cut out a similar pattern right here. I'm just marking the center. And you can use whatever you have to cut out the pattern. You can use just rounds, and I'm going to start with a round like that. And again, you have to work pretty fast. And I'm leaving a 2-inch border all the way around the outside. And you have to work fast because it starts to get warm. Maybe we'll create a new pattern for a bandana, and we can call it the Martha pattern, or you can call it after yourself. Now, the secret about bandana patterns is know when to stop. I think I might be getting a little ambitious here with too many holes. You won't have any pastry left if you make too many holes. Now, get this piece on top of that tart. Let's see if I can do this carefully without tearing it. Success. Now that is a beautiful bandana pattern. So now just crimp all the way around with your fingertips so that you will seal the pastry to the bottom crust, and then roll up the top crust to make a little edge, a fancy edge like that. And put this back into the refrigerator and chill it for, about an hour. You can put it in the freezer and it'll chill even faster than that. And if it's nice and chilled, when you put it into the oven, it'll take the glaze nicely and it will not lose its beautiful design. There, chill it, and then we'll bake it. So now I've made a glaze of 1 egg and 1 teaspoon of cold water to glaze the top of the tart. So make sure you preheat your oven to 450 degrees. You're going to bake this at that very high temperature for just 25 minutes, and then reduce the oven temperature to 400 degrees and bake 30 to 35 minutes longer. And you'll see that the berries really break down and get extremely juicy and tender, and the crust is a gorgeous golden brown. And I know you're going to love this tart. Now you can sprinkle the sanding sugar all over the top. A sparkling, glistening addition to this beautiful bandana tart. Get that sugar everywhere. Right into the 450 degree oven. Now this is what that gorgeous bandana tart looks like when it's cooled and taken out of the pan. I suggest cutting this into, maybe 9 squares. Serve with whipped cream. This blueberry tart, with its simple to make bandana pattern, is one you won't soon forget, and neither will your family and friends. Enjoy. Last weekend I made the most delicious gooseberry and raspberry crumbles. The combination of berries was just the right balance of tart and sweet, and they were a breeze to assemble, no peeling or chopping required. And I can't wait to share this recipe with you. In berry season, raspberries that look like this, you need 2 cups. And 2 cups of gooseberries. When these are in season, you should take the little stems off and freeze them. I do this all the time, so I have the gooseberries, which are very hard to find, and these are thawed. A pinch of salt, 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, that will help thicken the juices, and 1/2 cup of sugar. This is the filling of your crumbles, and a mighty good filling it is, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Just stir these together. So delicious. And the raspberries really go well with gooseberries. This is also a very nice pie filling if you want to make a pie. But I want to save you time so that you have time to go to the game or to the lake or someplace fun. So save time by making simple things. And I have tiny ramekins. They're really about a little more than 1/2 cup size, and they make a very pretty single serving. So I'm going to use 8 of these and fill them with our fruits. Gooseberries are small, tart fruits, and they're very delicious eaten raw at the peak of ripeness or used for making jams and jellies, pies, and other desserts. They're very low in calories and packed with essential nutrients such as vitamins A and C, even manganese, and lots of dietary fiber. So if you have a chance and are able to grow another berry in your garden, put a few gooseberries in your garden. They grow very well. I've had mine in my garden for more than 15 years, and they are loaded with berries each and every summer. So there, now we're ready to make the crisp topping. We have 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour. Add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/3 of a cup of dark brown sugar. If we can get the dark brown out of there, and mix this up. You can do it with your hands or with a whisk. And we're going to then also add 6 tablespoons of butter that is now room temperature, which is the right temperature for making a crisp crumble like this. Again, you can mix this with your fingers or with a fork or with a pastry cutter. And one spice that goes really well with gooseberries is nutmeg. And I don't know when I first discovered that, but it was a while ago, and I love the taste of nutmeg, freshly grated. And it's very pungent, so you don't need too much. I'd say about 1/2 teaspoon. And just stir that in. There. And now just put a little bit on top of each, trying to keep it in the dish if possible. It's the nature of crumbs to go all over the place. I wish I had a little piece of parchment paper on here, because then I wouldn't have so much cleanup. I think I'll transfer it to a parchment-lined baking sheet, because I don't want to be scrubbing a lot of baking sheets. When you're adding this to the top, just squeeze it and it makes more crumbs. Your oven should be preheated to 375 degrees, and you're going to bake these little dessert dishes for approximately 35 minutes. So simple and utterly delicious. Now just transfer these. I try to teach you good habits for baking also. And this is a very good habit to save a lot of time, is to put parchment, which is inexpensive. A piece of parchment about that size costs a couple cents. If this melted on the sheet and this dripped over, you would have a pretty hard time cleaning up. And this way I can use up all the rest of the crumbs. So pop that right into the oven, set your timer for 35 minutes. They're going to be real pretty. So when these have cooled to room temperature, just scoop vanilla ice cream right on top and let it soften on top of the crumble. And you have a dessert that is so fantastic. There's not going to be anything left over. But just in case, these crumbles can be reheated for an easy make-ahead dessert for another day. Cookbook author Sam Seneviratne has been a familiar face in our test kitchen, so I know whatever she dreams up is going to be good. Today she's here with an inspiring recipe using berries. I'm so pleased that you've come here.
Thanks.
How is the baby?
He's so good.
How old is he now?
He's about 14 months.
Oh,
a little over.
Oh, so he's keeping you busy, right?
Very, very
And you're working
busy.
on your third book?
My third book.
On?
Another baking book.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, how did this recipe make it into your next
Into this book. Well, I love phyllo dough. And I actually developed this recipe on a super hot day. I found these beautiful berries at the market, and it was too hot in my kitchen to work with pastry dough.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd make it with phyllo.
Oh, and it works.
It works great.
Well, let's start making the tart.
Let's make it. So the first step we're going to do is finish this phyllo base.
Okay, and more phyllo goes in here?
More phyllo.
How many sheets so far?
It's 8 sheets total. There's 6 in there already. So we're just going to butter 2 more.
Okay, I can do that for you.
Okay, so we just butter it and then a little bit of sugar and fold the piece over.
Okay.
And then I sort of just worked around the shell
Okay.
clockwise. So this is a hazelnut frangipane. So I have a cup of toasted skinned hazelnuts. Those go in there.
So you put the sugar right onto the buttered phyllo?
I do, yeah. Just adds a little more crunch and sticks it together. So 2/3 of light brown sugar goes into my Frangipane mixture, and a teaspoon of salt, and a tablespoon of flour. That sugar is important to get in there so that the nuts don't grind too fine. Oh, do you want to put a little more butter on the top?
Oh yes, I was just going to.
The more butter, the better.
Yes, well that really does keep the nature of the phyllo.
Right, it gets
butter.
nice and crisp
Yes.
that way. All right, this is gonna make a loud sound. Okay. And then into this I'm adding some crystallized ginger,
How much?
3 tablespoons of chopped
Okay.
crystallized ginger, and 4 tablespoons of butter, room temperature butter, and 2 large eggs.
Oh, so the whole filling can be made in the
food
processor. Oh, great.
These must be eggs from your chickens, Martha.
Are they nice and
They're
hard?
beautiful. Okay, I'll whiz that up. And that's ready
So
to go.
phyllo dries out so quickly, so you really have to keep it well wrapped, don't you?
Keep it covered. They say cover it with a damp towel, but I actually think that plastic works a little better.
Yeah, I think so too. And now I'll just butter this one. And then we're ready to fill?
We're gonna blind bake this one a little
Oh,
bit. I just
okay.
wanted to make sure it stayed nice and crisp.
Just the way it is? Oh, with the edges hanging off?
Yeah, I kind of kept it frilly and rustic looking.
Okay. What temperature?
350 degrees.
Okay. And for how long?
10 to 15 minutes.
Set your timer. So this is the crust when it comes out of the oven. It's beautiful.
12 minutes. Yeah, it looks great.
Yes.
Now all we have to do is put the Frangipane in. So that's made. It's actually a really easy tart.
I have to taste.
You have to taste it.
Yummy.
Can you taste that crystallized ginger?
So good. So fresh too. And make sure that your nuts are fresh. If they have any hint of rancidness, throw them away and start over again.
It's true. And actually, somebody told me once that hazelnuts, because they sit in the shelves for a little while longer than other nuts,
Get rancid faster. Yes.
so you really have to check them. Okay, so I just spread that out. And now we have 2 cups of blackberries. And you could do this with stone fruit, little apricots, or sugar plums, raspberries, obviously. Probably could do any fruit you like. Pears would be good.
Definitely. Nectarines.
Nectarines. Oh my gosh.
Apricots with hazelnuts. Oh, so good.
So good. So now this just goes back into a 350-degree oven for about 40 minutes until everything is nice and golden brown.
Oh, great. So that looks utterly beautiful.
Came out nice.
Yeah,
huh?
the Frangipane is nice and firm.
It is. It makes it easy to slice.
So do you top it with
I
confectioners?
do. Just a little.
Snow falling on Frangipane.
Looks pretty that way.
I'll take a piece.
Okay, I'll cut you a piece.
Not too large.
I love that sound.
Oh, I do too. Boy, that's so great. That's a very nice sound to let your guests hear, so do this at the table. Oh, that's so pretty. And no whipped cream, no ice cream, just itself.
I don't think you need it.
I agree. Well, unexpected pleasure to see you here.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for bringing this delicious recipe. And thank you all for watching. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Martha Bakes.
I love dates. Here are a few of my favorite ways to use them. First, I put a little hot water into chopped dates and then puree that up. It goes really nicely on some Greek yogurt. Then I also like to serve dates just split with a little bit of mascarpone cheese. You can also stuff them with a couple walnuts. That basically tastes like a cookie. And the last thing I like to do is saute my dates with a little bit of butter and a pinch of flaky salt. Serve those warm over vanilla ice cream. Give it a try.